At the start of the lockdown, some of the most emotionally moving images across all media have been that of the plight of migrant communities in India. It is their children that form the core of work that Diya Ghar does. Hi, I am Nivedita, and today I have with me Saraswathi Padmanabhan, founder of Dia Ghar. Passionate about investing in the lives of children, Saraswathi started her journey early 2016. Her vision of educating underprivileged children, along with her deep understanding of child development, is the driving force of Dia Ghar. Nutrition, education, and parent empowerment. These are the three essential interventions that Dia Ghar does. I was actually moved by some of the stories of the difference Dia Ghar is making, one child, one family at a time. Almost 4 years in operation and 6 months into the pandemic, Saraswathi, we would love to hear about what makes you and your team get up every morning and brave into the colonies of the migrant laborers.
Thank you, Nivedita. Thank you so much for having me over and to just share about the work that we're doing with migrant communities. So truly, it's been our privilege to be working with migrant communities even before the pandemic hit. These are a unique set of communities with very different challenges, very different, just the situations that they are in is very, very challenging. And so we've been working with their children, their young children, the 2 to 6 year old children. So we were running Montessori preschool and daycare centers for these children. And so when the pandemic hit, this communities really, were at a very, very difficult point. Many of them wanted to go back to their villages, but they were not able to with the lockdown. And then over a period of time, some of them did go back to the village, but didn't have much work, so they were waiting to come back. So when the pandemic hit, we started doing relief work in terms of distributing dry ration kits for all our 200, 250 Diya Ghar families. Because what had happened was May 10th, preschools were asked to close. And then within just a couple of days, that week we were all working, and just in that 2 days we saw some of our children at the street corner begging, and that really broke our hearts. One of our teachers on the way to school saw this, because we used to bring the children in, give them breakfast, lunch and evening snacks, and teach them and take care of them, and to see our children struggling like this. So till the lockdown, we were going into the communities and giving them food. And then during the lockdown, we started distributing dry ration kits. And from there on, actually, it was miraculous that we were able to connect with a few friends and donors. A lot of XLRI alumni came together and formed what we call the COVID Relief Bangalore. And over 2 months, we were able to distribute more than 76,500 dry ration kits, helping more than 3.5 lakh people in Bangalore, all migrant communities. And so that was, our focus during April and May, till the end of May. And then it became very apparent that preschools will not be allowed to open. And, so we started working on our model itself. We can't bring them to school. How do we go into the communities? And so to kind of answer your question of like what, makes us do what we do, we just, each person on the team has a very deep calling to just serve these children and families. And for me personally as well, we started this work because we knew clearly that God was asking us to work with this community and work with children. And so, really just a joy to be there, sharing God's love with them and doing whatever we can to help them, to give these families hope. Because migrant communities, what happens is they come from villages, they think they'll be here only for 6 months, 1 year, they'll go back. But some families have been here for 10 plus years, But they think that, we can't send our children to school. We go back for harvest seasons. We're gone for several months. We're gone for festivals for several weeks. So, they never think that they can send their children to school.
Right.
And truly, just being able to talk to them and giving them that hope that they too can send their children to school makes it so precious.
Why did you think of migrant communities to address? What made you, focus on the migrant communities?
Okay. So my husband and I moved to Bangalore with the intent of working with the community. So I have a background in accounting and auditing, and we'd moved to the US. We lived in California. I did my MBA in accounting, worked as an auditor. And during that time, we knew God was asking us to come back and come back to Bangalore in particular. So we came back, not too sure of which area we're going to really work in. And so then I studied counseling. I said, okay, what skills can I acquire to really be effective in the community? So I studied counseling, and then we were living in Sarjapur, a part of Bangalore where there was a lot of construction going on.
Right.
My husband is in the IT, and so right behind his office there was a huge community of migrant laborers. So weekends we used to go and just engage with them, do things with their children, and that's when it really kind of caught our kind of heart and said that we want to help these little children. And we used to see children playing on construction sites, sometimes even on the second floor, and then we'd be like, we are so protective of our children. I went on to having 3 children, and so we are so protective of our children, and to see these children just playing there, being taken care of by older siblings, we said, what can we do? And so yes, so right from the beginning it was migrant laborers, construction laborers, and we wanted to work with the 2 to 6 year old age group of children.
Right. Yeah, the youngest are the most vulnerable, and also you have been working with them. You know that what a big difference you can make if there is an early intervention into the child's life for education, for nutrition. For all practical purposes. So how are you involving this community? How are they looking at you? Are they looking at you as somebody who is coming to help, or you are empowering them in some way? What is the kind of continuity you are looking at in this situation?
Okay, so earlier we were, like I was saying, running preschools, right? So our focus really was on the preschool child, and like you said, the reasons were because early childhood care and education is so important, and these children were in very they were in a place where they were exposed to abuse and very vulnerable, and so we wanted to work with this age group. Also, the another reason is that these families are not able to access Anganwadis that are run by the government, the preschools. Right. At least with the older children, some of them, if there are a few children together from a community and there is no large road, busy road to cross, then they will go together to the community, from the community to school and come back. But with the little ones, there was no way they would be able to drop them at 9 and pick them up at 3 because they would leave very early for work. So we work with what they call non-builder communities. So these are not communities that come for one particular large project.
Okay.
So they live where the subcontractors come in a tractor, pick them up and go to different sites. Right. So they would just take their little children with them, or leave them in the communities where an older sibling or a grandmother is, just kind of keeping an eye on them. And so we used to really, kind of bring them in and take care of them the whole day. We used to pick them up from the communities, bring them in, have a full day program, drop them back in the evenings. And now the pandemic, one of the good things is our engagement with the family has increased. Initially, we would only kind of talk to them about education, about the importance of education, the importance of safety for their children and things like that. But now we're also talking to them about how do they help the development of their child, because the child is at home, right? And so, we're doing this whole thing over parent empowerment, teaching them activities to do with their children, just sharing more, parenting skills and things like that. So that's another way that we're engaging with the community. Also, like you had mentioned, we provide nutrition. Now we're providing milk, eggs, and porridge powder for not only the children in our preschool program, but all their siblings as well in the community. Because these older children are also, with schools closed, just in the community and struggling. And many of them really were dependent on that midday meal they were getting in the government school, which they're getting access to now, right? And so the parents really value us coming in and giving them milk, eggs, and porridge powder. We also give dry ration kits for families where there is a desperate need, where when they've not been able to get work that week. We've also partnered with other NGOs for different things. One, we have partnered with an NGO for livelihood projects. So in any of the communities where they need support for livelihood, then we've partnered. We've also partnered with an NGO for the older children, for the education of the older children. So online program, just kind of skill development programs for these older children. And so these are some of the things that we're doing with the community, and just trying to see what is the need and how do we help them directly or in partnership with other NGOs.
Tell us something about your team, how you are putting together team, what kind of counseling you are doing to your team or training for your team, or what kind of people are coming together um, from the citizens or friends
Okay.
and family.
Yes. I mean, really, our strength is in our team. We currently we're a small team. We're only about 10 of us, and most of them are teachers. And so these were teachers who, I mean, even when they came in, they knew that there would be some amount of community work in terms of going in and enrolling new children, talking to parents. We have parent-teachers meeting where we do, just different workshops. So they were, only the ones who wanted to work with this particular community, underserved communities, were even drawn to coming to Diya Ghar. And truly, Nivedita, I mean, like everybody is a miracle story. They have unique stories of how they've come into Diya Ghar. And so when we started, I was really looking for Montessori training teachers because we're a Montessori school, and I had done my training the summer before we started. But then, just God put in our hearts that we have to look for people who want to serve this community, because they're not just teachers, but we bring them in, we bathe the children, we feed the children, right. And there's just a lot more than what a regular teacher would be needing to do. And so every teacher is really, really unique. They come with that kind of a passion to work with the children, and that's really been highlighted during this pandemic, where selflessly they've been working with the communities and just putting the communities and families ahead of themselves and doing all that they can. Really a wonderful set of people who we're like a family.
Give us some numbers, like you have 10 teachers, and how many communities, what areas, how many numbers of children, age groups, how is the impact? Yeah.
Okay, so we have 5 teachers and a program coordinator, and between them they work with, now currently we have 150 preschool children along with their 230 siblings, and these are in 4 communities around Ramurthy Nagar. So the community in Horamavu, 2 in Kalkare, and 1 in Akshay Nagar, all around Ramurthy Nagar, about a 3-4 kilometer radius. So earlier we were working as centers. So we had 3 centers up until March. And so every center had, 2 teachers typically. We had 1 large center with 2 classrooms. So there were 4 teachers. So there would be a center in charge and a co-teacher working there and a coordinator for these 3 centers. So it's kind of similar now. We have a community in charge. The teachers now the community in charge along with a co-teacher. So they work with the community right from, enrolling them, because just over the last 2 months we've enrolled 100 new children because many of our children went back to the village. And so, we started going into new communities and enrolling new families. So they've really been working very, very hard just because of the need out there, more than ever before. These children are struggling now. And so the teachers, do all of that, going into communities, identifying communities, and then onboarding them, convincing the parents, and then, like I said, we also identify women in the community to be community champions. So they identify them. We have now a program where we train them. So the program coordinator works with that and training them. One of the teachers has taken on the role of the curriculum development, because we have to completely make everything into videos now.
Right.
So we've made now 100 plus short videos and another 100 videos in the making. So we send these short videos to the parents and ask them to show to these children. So it's for physical development, emotional, social, cognitive, different activities for them to do, to teach them languages and math. And then we give them learning kits. So the teachers go into the community once a week, give them learning kits, help them to do it, talk to the parents, and just see what their challenges are. So that's the teaching team, and that's the core of Diya Ghar. We are looking for a community social worker to join us now that there is a lot more community work that we're doing, and that's something that we will continue even when preschools open. We will continue to doing a few of the new things that we've started with the community, and so we're looking for a community social worker as well. And then we have an accounts and admin person. We have somebody who's recently joined us just about 2 months ago for digital marketing and fundraising as well. And then that's me. So yes, and we have a full-time driver as well. All our support staff went back to the village. A few of them have come back. but since our centers are not open, we don't really have full-time support staff. So that's our team of 10. Yes, yes.
Wow, that's a remarkable amount of work and impact for a member of 10. So, how are you managing to put together the funds? Do you have grants? Do you have individual funding? Are you funding it yourself? How is it all working out?
Okay, so when we started in 2016, we started with our personal finances, and we were able to run the program for a year with our personal finances. So only at the end of the first year, I even started telling people about what I was doing. And so slowly, a lot of friends and family, really God's grace for them to come forward to support. So the second year was predominantly family, friends, and friends of friends. And then I learned how to use Facebook. So then I was able to connect with even more friends. So able to connect even with more long lost friends. And so really, I mean, Nivedita, just so humbled by the trust that people put in the work that we're doing. And so a large part of our donations come from individuals, all the way from 100% to now about 50%, 60% comes from individuals. And then over the last 2 years, we've had corporates donate as well. For example, we had Emphasis, who supported us starting the third center and running it for an entire year. And just recently, we've got a grant from the Azim Premji Foundation. We were really, really excited about their partnership and all that we'll learn through that partnership as well. We also run campaigns or crowdsourcing campaigns. For example, currently we're running a campaign on keto where individuals can donate. And the amazing thing is that we run campaigns along with what we call ambassadors. So we have about 37 ambassadors running campaigns for these children, for Diya Ghar children. So it's really, I mean, just so many people coming forward to support the work. And you were saying how so much you're able to do in small team. That's because of that. Yeah, really, really just the support and God's favor.
Well, that sounds absolutely very heartwarming in the current times. It looks like we are in it for some more time. What is your short-term goal?
Okay, so we're looking at it kind of till May. We said, we're doing the community-based model till May, and so we've closed 2 of our centers because all our 3 properties were rented properties. So we closed 2 of our centers back in May itself, and we only have 1 center. And so in all of these communities, we're starting community classes, and that's so exciting. It's the first time we're doing it. And so, for example, this Sunday we're putting up, God willing, putting up the tent in one of our communities. In another place, we've got 1 small room, and in some of the places it's challenging. The owner does not want us to put up something and start classes there, so those challenges are also there. But really just looking at how we can help the community, being mindful of the fact that cases are increasing.
Right.
And so as an organization, we've always been very kind of trying to balance that we want to do everything that we can for our children and families, at the same time being mindful of the risks that we're putting ourselves at the staff at. And so just taking all the precautionary measures, and that's why we have also identified women in the community to teach, right? Because they're already in the community, they're not getting any new additional exposure, as well as the community is not getting exposure from us if we are going to be spending hours together there.
Right.
And that's got a wonderful kind of silver lining, because now here we are identifying women where they are finding their own talents and saying, oh, I'd like to be a teacher. And that's exciting. And so for the next 6-8 months up until May, or until we hear anything about preschools opening, we'll continue this. We'll continue the nutrition program. We'll continue supporting our communities with livelihood projects through partnerships. And so over the next 2 months, we're looking at 150 new children. And then by March, God willing, we want to have about 500 preschool children and about 700, 800 siblings. That's what we're working towards.
Amen, Tathastu, and Inshallah to that.
Thank you.
So I would like you to share 1 or 2 stories to close with, because I was really very moved with Srinivas's story you had shared. Just share with us. I'm sure our our audience would love that.
Yes, I mean, just every child is so special and
True,
precious.
true.
And you know, even when we started the work, people said, "Why don't you work with a slum? When you work with migrant communities, they will come, they will go, and it's hard to kind of see that tangible kind of impact
Right.
in their lives, you know." And but for us, it was very clear. God had asked us to work with this community, and we say every day is precious. Every day that they are with us, they're not on the streets when we were having centers. And so, you know, truly that's been our heart, saying, you know, every child is important. And Nivita, we really try and do everything that we can for a child, right? For example, we have a child, you know, where you know, he was born with cleft lip as well as with deformed legs. He had bow legs. And so he was 7 years when we first met him, when we started the second center. And when we went in, you know, that was a child who really immediately caught my attention, and we started talking to the parents. And that child joined our second center last Jan when we started. He just started learning so much. We were able to work with the family and convince them to, you know, be open for surgery. He had his cleft lip surgery done, so painful, but you know, at the end of it, such a beautiful smile after the surgery. And then went through surgeries for his legs as well, you know, and now he's walking, you know. So, and they've gone back to the village. We don't even know whether they'll come back or we'll ever see them again. But each child is precious, each family is precious. And so, you know, we have our first children, Shweta, who used to say, "I want to be like Saraswathi auntie. I want to become a teacher like Saraswathi auntie," because when we started, I was the only teacher in school. And so, you know, she's gone back to the village. She's in grade 2 now. And her siblings, her youngest also finished from Dia Ghar and has gone into primary schools. So just amazing to see, you know, the change in these children, in these families. I think, like I said, you know, just the thing that parents really want to do the best for their children, like all of us, but they just have kind of given up, saying we can't, right? We're just struggling so much that we can't think about you know, educating them.
Right.
So to help just that change in that mindset, right? And that's all we can do, because our work, I mean, our engagement with them is only 3 or 4 years in preschool, but we believe that during that time we sow those seeds of hope in the child, in the family, because these children who go back to the village go to school regularly, right? So I'm saying pre-pandemic. Whereas their older siblings who were left behind in the village were not going to school regularly. And so, you know, a lot of kind of impact will come on later, but just for us to play that little role that God has asked us to play. So yes, lot of very, very precious children.
Yep. I completely understand, because a teacher never knows where the impact ends, but that's the joy of the teacher. The teacher works with the child at that moment, at that impact that one is creating on the child, and that makes lasting impression in the children. Their love for a teacher, love for school, love for learning is something which gets very deep into in that age. So early years are very, very precious. I wish you, your team, Diya Ghar, all the best. In the description of the video, we will share all your contact details, and we'd love for people to come forward and cherish your work and support your work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for just you know, bringing out our work and the need. The need is huge, but what really kind of encourages me is that there are a lot of people who can help as well, and that's what has been our experience. So as we just come together more and more, we can reach out to the, you know, the thousands and thousands of children in Bangalore. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.